Hey again, everybody. We're back with our full set review for Revelations. We've moved from Descendants of the Dragons onto Exiles, and a reminder, we're looking at how spicy I think the cards are, how excited I am to put them into decks or build decks around them, unrelated to how powerful the card is, and totally subjective. So I want to hear other people's opinions, especially when they differ from my own, because maybe you will be able to change my mind about a card and get me more excited about a card than I am already. And we're going to jump right into our commons here. So we have Broken Discipline. And I don't remember if I talked about this card before or not. I think I may have. There's been a lot of cards we've gone through. But this is a 3 spice for me. The reason is this definitely falls into our potatoes category of cards. It's not the card that you build a deck around. It's not the most exciting card in your deck. But it does support a strategy. And I think that the card is totally solid. I am surely going to give it a shot and play with it, but I'm not actively looking to build a deck around it. It's more of a card that's going to support some decks that I may end up building. Enough said. Solid card. Okay, next. Leaping Imp. And Leaping Imp is a card I haven't talked about yet. It's 2 costs, 7/6. When he enters the deployed area, you discard the leftmost card in your hand, and we've seen that has proven to be kind of a feature that can be an advantage for Exiles for setting up reanimation or setting up your Exiles trigger effect. And it can only be blocked by the last defending character, which is totally new, very interesting. So instead of being blocked by the leftmost character, it's blocked by the rightmost character. That's the only time we've ever seen that. Really interesting. And the card has Exile 1. This card, I really don't know how I feel about it. I want to try it. I think this is probably a 4 spice for me. Even though it's not a super flashy card, and I don't have like a specific deck in mind with it, I want to see really how that effect of hitting the farthest character in the defense zone plays out, because ordering your characters in Infinity Wars for combat has always been a really fundamental part of the game, and this really makes people reevaluate how they want to order their characters. So it should be interesting just to see how it plays, even if this card isn't really the core of your strategy. So, pretty cool. Okay, next we have Lost Identity, 2-cost ability. The also has the subtype Demon, which is interesting. I'm sure that comes into play with some cards that like return things from your graveyard to your hand or make demons cost less, but it's worth mentioning because we don't see a whole lot of abilities with character types like that. And it transforms a deployed character you control into a random character that costs 1 more and becomes exhausted. And this card has recall too, so you can cast it again. I think this card's really fun, but I think this is honestly a 2 spice for me. The reason for that is that I think that I just don't really know what I'm supposed to do with the card, if I'm being transparent. That the upgrading your character into something random is fun, and we've seen that before with like Defiant Monk. But with Defiant Monk, there's a very clear play pattern in terms of progressively juicing up one dude in the defense zone. Whereas this, because the character comes in exhausted, it's harder to leverage that new character right away. This is one that I think somebody could change my mind on, but I'm gonna wait and see how other people play the card before I give it a shot myself. Okay. Next, Fickle Friendship. And this card lets you swap control of 2 characters on the battlefield, one you control and one your opponent controls. Really weird card. I think this is going to be a 3 spice for me, because I think that there's some really cool things you can do with it. It's just I'm on the fence on how much I want to build my deck around this card specifically. Because I think that the card encourages some really weird behaviors that don't match my playstyle. Like, the dream is to give your opponent something awful with this card and steal their best thing, but for you to have something awful, you have to put something awful in your deck. So we'll wait and see. I think this is a fun card. It's just one that I will wait until somebody shows me how to properly play with it before I get excited about it. Okay, next, Keening Deathwing, and we have talked about this card before. This is a 3 spice for me. Reason being is I think this card does fall in that potatoes category of this card really supports your deck, even though it's not the most flashy card in the deck. It's definitely worth trying because he's got so much going on for him in terms of the flying, the plunder, his ability to discard cards, which is, again, it's kind of an advantage for exiles. And him having exile himself makes it very easy for you to throw him away from your hand as a card that you know that you'll be able to play again. So, solid card, one that I plan on trying, but I'm in no rush to build the deck around this card specifically. All right, and next we have Henekri's Circlet. For me, this is a 5 spice. This card costs 2, and it has Exile 2, so it's very easy to put out. It's only 1 purity, but I do suspect that you're probably going to be in a pretty Exiles-heavy deck with this card. And it is a card that causes your opponent to lose life every turn if at least one player has 1 or fewer cards in hand. And it also says for each player, so if you can get both players at 0 cards, that's going to be 6 damage a turn. So pretty big, and I think that there are ways to build around this card, and it's a pretty easy include in a lot of different Exiles decks. So excited to try it out, see how it plays, and see if it really takes some of these decks to the next level. And then last, we have Vasir's Dread Knight, another card that we've talked about before. And I think this is probably a 4 spice for me as well. Reason being is I think his effect is really cool. I want to see how powerful it is. That it's hard for me to evaluate right now, but this guy has a chance to draw you multiple cards in a sense. His effect that does damage, excess damage to the next character or next character in the defense zone, also very cool and plays into that ability to draw cards. So I plan on trying this guy in the command zone because I really think that to maximize his value, you want to be able to just dump him directly into the assault zone, and that playing him from your hand into the support zone feels a little slower than I would like. So I want to actually try him right straight up in the command zone and see how that plays. All right, that wraps up all our Exiles cards, and we'll be moving on to our Sleepers of Avarak next.